The Fool Undal and the Princess Pyeonggang. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a princess named Pyeonggang. She was beautiful and kind, but a crybaby. Every time the princess cried, the whole kingdom was busy taking turns to calm her down. One day, not being able to handle it any longer, the king said to the princess,
"Hush, if you keep crying like that, I'm going to marry you off to Fool Undal."
Hearing this, Princess Pyeonggang stopped crying in a flash. She always stopped crying instantly whenever she heard this. For years, the king continued to mention Undal every time the princess cried. Years passed, and Princess Pyeonggang became old enough to marry. However, no matter how good of a candidate appeared, the princess always shook her head no. Frustrated, the king called the princess and asked,
"Dear Pyeonggang, don't you think you should quickly get married to a good man?"
"Father, isn't the man I am to marry already decided? I will get married to Undal, whom you chose as my husband since I was little." The king jumped in surprise.
"What are you talking about? I didn't mean that. I only said that to make you stop crying."
"Father, you are the king of a country, and how is it that you won't keep your own word?" The king tried whatever he could to change the stubborn princess's mind, but failed each time. Eventually, the king got angry and cast his daughter out of the palace. Princess Pyeonggang came out of the palace and set off. Finally, she arrived at the village where Undal lived. Undal was coming home after helping with some work in the village, and there was a beautiful lady standing in front of his shabby hut. The lady approached Undal and asked, "Are you perhaps Undal?" Puzzled, Undal asked,
"I am, but who might you be?"
As soon as he asked, Princess Pyeonggang suddenly took a big bow and said, "I am Pyeonggang. Please take me as your wife." Undal jumped in surprise. He thought it a mystery for such a beautiful and elegant woman to ask him to marry her, when the whole village was reluctant to marry him because he was known to be a fool.
"You must be a fox trying to bewitch me. Be off with you,"
said Undal, who rushed into his house. However, Princess Pyeonggang did not leave. Even until Undal came out to go to work in the morning, the princess was still waiting for him. Undal ignored her and went to work, but when he saw that she was still there even after he came home, he asked, worried,
"I see that you are not a fox. Then who are you? Why would you want to marry a man who is rumored to be a fool?"
Princess Pyeonggang explained. After hearing the whole story, Undal took the princess home for the time being and said,
"A person as noble as you must not live in a place like this. Stay here for a few days to recover and return to the palace."
However, Princess Pyeonggang flung off her fancy clothes and changed into shabby ones. Then, she made meals for Undal and his mother when it was mealtime, did needlework, and even helped Undal with field work. Eventually, Undal accepted the princess's sincerity and took her as his wife. Some time after they got married, Princess Pyeonggang asked Fool Undal, "Honey, why do people call you a fool?"
"That is because I'm uneducated and ignorant."
"No, honey, absolutely not. It is just because you are poor and did not have a chance to learn. Please study and become a great person for your mom and me." He started to learn with Princess Pyeonggang. And Princess Pyeonggang was right. Once he began to learn, Fool Undal was no longer a fool. He learned faster than any others and finally passed the civil service examination. A couple of years later, the Japanese invaded and devastated the nation. They destroyed rice fields and farms, set houses on fire, and captured the people for slaves. At this moment, it was heard that there was a brave general in a village far away. The brave general led the army with a wise strategy and defeated the Japanese intruders. The king invited the brave general to the palace to appreciate his bravery. The brave general turned out to be Fool Undal. With the princess's help, he had become a great person who saved the nation from danger. The king was so happy he decided to let Fuondal and Princess Pyeonggang live in the palace and take the throne. Fuondal and Princess Pyeonggang ruled the country well and lived happily ever after.